Brief introduction about our speaker today, Dr. Pankaj Partani. He is the Application Support Manager at SAIX India. In terms of experience, he's a pharmaceutical professional experienced in the field of research, and he has a specific expertise in bioanalytical method development as well as validation studies for small molecules. He also has a thorough understanding and experience in the quantification of genotoxic impurities, pharmacokinetics, biopharmaceutics, and pharmaceutical chemistry as well. With Without much further ado, I invite Dr. Pankaj to carry on with the presentation. Thank you.
Hello everyone. As Parikshit says, I'm Pankaj. I'm working as an application support manager at SAIX COE lab, which is our new lab in Bangalore, India. So if I can talk about the objective of the overall webinar today is to present you all participants on the complete solutions that SAIX offers towards the quantifications of various nitrosamines. Those are nothing but the genotoxic impurities in various drug substances as well as the drug products. The drug substance and drug product that we are discussing in this webinar is mostly around the sartans as well as the metformin, which was more recently regulatory agencies for the presence of anti-impurity. SAIX 2020-2021 LCMS portfolio like SAIX triple quad as well as the QTRAF systems. If you can see on the slides on the top end, you can see the instruments from 3500 series to the more recently launched 7500 systems. The 7500 systems at present offer you the most, by far the most sensitive and high reproduced instruments at this moment on the market. On the left bottom side, you can see the UHPLC systems offered by SAIX under the brand as Exion LC systems, whereas on the bottom sides, again, you can see the high resolution systems aging from lower to the higher sensitivity. Today, I'm focusing more on the applications areas which we carried out on our triple quad instruments 45, 55, 65, as well as on one of our HRMS platform that is X500 TOF. The more focus would be on the quantification of sartans as well as the metformin API in both using HRMS as well as the nominated platform. Here is our new software, which is nothing but the SAIX OS software, which will be our software solutions going forward. The software offers at present multiple benefits to the users in terms of handling more user-friendly atmosphere to work, as well as the navigate, simplification in the data processing as well as data interpretation. If you look at the display at present, which is there on the screen, you can see it's broadly classified into the three class: acquisition, processing, as well as the management. The management supports toward the configuration of the ELC as well as the MS, whereas the acquisition, you can see there are various tabs: MS method, LC MS methods, as well as the batch and the queue, so that the user can easily navigate the respective tabs to do or execute the actions. Like this, similarly, there is another way like a processing, that's an explorer, as well as the to process the data and to interpret the results or the findings that are coming from the experiments that we are carrying out. Saying that nitrosamine contamination is at present a global public health issue, and the discovery of nitrosamine impurities in drug substances, drug products over the last 2.5 years has triggered major efforts by regulators as well as the industries to reduce it, either to reduce or to nullify, or sometimes we can say that to eliminate their presence in the drug supply chains. As this evolves, as this area of research is getting evolved, there are many analytical techniques that are necessary to come up in order to quantify these impurities in the various matrices. I say the matrices, like again, it's an API or the drug formulations, or there are challenge comes from the drug product, finished drug products, like there are suspensions, there are emulsions, there are some kind of a fixed extended release formulation along with the immediate release formulations. So these nitrosamines compounds are proven to be a potent genotoxic agents in several animal species. So, and some of those are classified as the probable or a possible human carcinogens by the International Agency of Research of Cancer. Hence, this needs to be very well regulated in order to ensure that there is no adverse effects comes to the humans who are taking those medications as well as the drug substances. If we look into the history in the last 2 years back. So in 2018, so multiple nitrosamines, including NDMA, were detected into the sartans formulations. So that's where the trigger happened towards the genotoxic impurity quantifications as well, or identification of their presence in those drug products. Subsequent to that, the nitrosamine presence was also identified in the mostly used, like I say, stomach ulcer as well as the heartburn treatment drug, which is nothing but a ranitidine. And subsequently to that, it was identified in a metformin, which has presented a lots of challenge to the athletical fraternity across India as well as across the globe. So the issue has already led to multiple product recall worldwide, impacting the profitability of to the many of the pharmaceutical organizations. So now the entire research fraternity is getting more and more serious towards coming up with the most sensitive and most accurate and the precise methodology to quantify this impurity, avoiding or minimizing the recalls in the coming subsequent years. So if we can think about how, what is the origin and how the chemical structures of the nitrosamines looks like and how they got identified in sartans and what is the process through which they were identified. So these impurities can originate from various sources. So when I say about the various sources, it's like synthesis of an API, the drug product manufacturing process, or the instruments where they are getting manufactured, the product degradation, specifically the degradation part will also play a significant role towards generation of this impurity in the finished products. So these are the primary pathways by which the drug products can become contaminated with the nitrosamines. So if you can see at present, if you go into the literature, there are various sources by which are contributes toward the presence of nitrosamine in various drug substances. So the primary would be the sodium nitrite or the nitrostating agents when they react with the in presence of the secondary or tertiary amine or an acidic environment gets leads to the generation of those nitrosamines in this product, or the use of sodium nitrate or other nitrostating agent with the solvents like dimethylformamine, ethylamine, or diisopropyl ethylamine, this which are susceptible to degradation to the secondary or tertiary amines. If you can look on the screen as well. So Oliver et al. In his publication in 2019 has done a very fantastic study around the presence of or possible origin of this kind of a secondary amines. So they are coming from the solvents. You can see on the top left-hand screen. So dimethylformamide, triethylamine, as well as diisopropyl ethylamine is leading to the secondary amine. And on the bottom side, you can see that like there is a generation of nitrosonium ion from the sodium nitrile, and reaction of this in presence of acidic conditions leads to the nitrosamines like NDMA, NDA, and DIP, and so on. So the amines which are lifted on the, you can see the tabular form over here where you have seen the amines and the corresponding nitrosamine are generating because of this secondary or tertiary amines. So the risk assessment from the industry to industry is very important. If you can look into the entire processes of synthesis of an API or synthesis or formulation processes used to formulate the finished drug product, you can go ahead and classify, do the thorough risk assessment at your end, that which are the impurity that one needs to focus in their finished products as well as the drug substances. So based on the risk assessment and the decision, one can take a call that they wanted to quantify NDMA, NDA, or all the 6 or 7 impurities which are listed over here. This is a broad list of nitrosamine that are currently under consideration and or they are have some kind of a regulatory attentions on their presence in the drug product as well as the finished substances. So we expect few more will be added in the coming years. So the first nitrosamine, which I said earlier in the one of the previous slide, that is nothing but an NDMA, which was identified in antiretroviral drugs. So which is considered to be an genotoxic as per both WHO as well as the International Agency for Research for Cancers. So it is nothing but a class 2A carcinogens. The other nitrosamine which are identified in latter part into the antiretroviral drugs were NDEA, NMBA, NDBA, as well as NDPA. Moving forward, here you can see that this slide just broadly gives us the overview on what FDA, currently like US FDA agency, looks after it. So US FDA has published the first guidelines somewhere in the month of September 2020. They come up with a guidance to quantify the following nitrosamine impurities like NDMA, NDEA, NMBA, NMPA, NEIP, NEIPA as well as NDIPA into the finished doses as well as these drug substances. When FDA comes up with that, even in a more recent, in the last month only, FDA has come up with a new revised guidelines for the same, which came and published in the month of February 2021. So if you can look into the intake limits, based on the intake limit, these limits are specifically applicable if there is only one single nitrosamine impurity is present in the drug product or the drug substances. However, the intake limit of nitrosamine is defined by regulatory is considering the maximum daily dose. If the maximum daily dose is less than 880 mg, the limit of total nitrosamine is set to be at 0.03 ppm, that is nanogram per milligram or a microgram per gram. So the real challenges come across for the most of the analytical researchers when the maximum daily dose goes past 880 mg. The best example over here is to metformin, which has a maximum daily dose of more than 2000 mg or 2550 mg when it comes to be an IR as well as an ER formulation. So in this case, the total intake limit drops down to 0.01 ppm and gives really a major challenges to the analytical scientist who is working on that project to get and set that particular limit in order to get appropriate and acceptable signal to noise ratio. Here I'll start with our first application, which we have carried out on our QTRAC 4500 nitrosamine QTRAC 4500 LC-MS system. So the more work here on the nitrosamine quantification in the sartan APIs. So this we consider 4500 as our entry-level instruments to quantify nitrosamines when compared to the other high-end instruments like 55 and 65. So the sartans API analyzed in our lab, we have analyzed the following, like candesartan, selextil, then there is a losartan, valsartan, irbesartan, telmisartan, and olmesartan. So most of these APIs we have easily leads to the quantification of nitrosamine in this API. So we followed the recent methodologies that also comes from the European Pharmacopoeia that deals on the limit test, where the comparison was carried out between the spiked samples and the unspiked samples. The limit equates here to the 0.9 nanogram per ml in solution, which is nothing but an equivalent to the 0.03 microgram per gram in samples. So how we started an experiment is like we have conventionally taken any typical C18 columns and we try to modulate the gradient in such a way that we can easily quantify the required nitrosamine impurities, like 5 to 8 different in a staggered way. We can discuss around it in our subsequent slides. So the sample preparation we kept very much similar to 30 mg per ml, and the diluent we preferred here was a 90:10 methanol, water is to methanol. The preference always given to the water as it supports towards these improved signal to noise ratio when compared to the methanol, and because of its compatibility with the starting initial gradient stages. Even there are options that we can choose some other diluents like dichloromethane or a combination acetone or its combination of astronitrile methanol along with the water. So in this work we carried out the entire application using the both quantifier as well as the qualifier to give you more supporting information on the identification as well as the quantifications. We started with the work on the initial with the 5 nitrosamines, which are nothing but NDMA, NMBA, NDEA, NEIPA, and NDIPA. And we can easily reach, even like we set a target of 0.9 nanogram per ml, but we can easily reach to a limit of 0.45 nanogram per ml. This gives us a support toward, instead of taking a 30 mg per ml API load, instead of that we can also reduce it to the 15 mg per ml. That supports towards the lower longer life to the columns, no less contamination of the systems and all that. So the limit concentration here, as I said over that, we can easily reach to 0.45 nanogram per ml. The 25 run times, the objective of the 25 run times is to see and check which all nitrosamine impurities we can easily quantify in a single run. NDMBA has given us some challenges at this beginning of the work because NDBA was correlating with a couple of sartans. Most typically it was a losartan. That's why we are not able to quantify NDBA in this work. Subsequent to that, how we started slowly and we added the other impurities like NDPA, which was not there in the initial, and along with that NDBA as well. We also added one more impurity named here as a NMO. We got some feedback from a couple of researchers fraternity that NMO is difficult to quantify on LCMS and you require only a GCMS to quantify this impurity. However, based on the work that we carried out, we've proven and it has a possibility, and to based on the data that comes out of that experiment, it is quite easy to quantify NMO using the LCMS platform. So as we are increasing the runtime, has we have shortened it, we have modified the gradient, we have modified the flow rate, changed the column, got into a next generation C18 columns in order to get them all nitrosamine impurity get very well resolved from each other, doesn't carry any cross contamination to each others. We also used here a deuterated standard NDMA D6 in order to see how the deuterium standards are leads to a more accurate and more precise data when compared to a quantification of an absolute percentage from the impurities like NDMA, NDA and all that. So instead of taking the area, we have supported the data as well as with the area ratio, that if there is any loss happening in between the sample preparation or during the analysis, the deuterium standards or the isotopic level standards can take care of that. However, saying that even in this work, we still find some difficulty for one of the API, which is nothing but an losartan, where because it is giving us a very small narrow window between NDPA and NDBA, and losartan eludes into this zone and gives us a very limited scope to resolve and quantify NDBA to a more precise and more accurate way. So obviously there is some more fine tuning on the methodologies needed over here. Then we come up with, again, we worked around it and we modified our gradient in such a way that the resolution is maximum between NDPA as well as the NDBA, giving us enough scores for the losartan to elute between these runtimes of 20 to 30 minutes. Even if like there is a tailing happens for the losartan API, even if it's on the higher API load, you can easily see that the 27 or 28 minutes is more than enough for the losartan to remove out and giving more selectivity and specificity for the quantification of an NDBA. So this method was, we know that it is extended to 40 minutes, but still we can work around it. But a single method can support you to quantify these 9 nitrosamine impurities in the certain APIs. So this minimizes the overall workload that comes to the associate to develop 2 or 3 different methodologies to quantify NDBA in a separate way, and as well as the initial polar and non-polar impurities in different experiments. So moving on to that, I'll take you through the another application which is going on the telmisartan, which we are using on, which we quantified in a on 5500 our next generation instruments, and using this IX triple got 5500 LCMS instrument, which is a QTRAP. So this work we carried out into a telmisartan finished product, not into an API. See here, there I have presented that we have gone ahead and worked around the chromatographic runtime of up to 40 minutes. But here you can see that we modified this stationary phase. We gone ahead with the next generation and more like a next generation stationary phase, or we changed the entire column chemistries from from the conventional C18 column. We moved on to the biphenyl column from Phenomenex, where you can see that all these 8 impurities are very well resolved based on their polarity, and the telmisartan peak elutes post 15 minutes. So without that, doesn't have any kind of interference or any kind of a challenge for the NDBA. Initially, this was also co-eluting along with the NDBA. So we just slow down the gradient in order to push the telmisartan past 15 minutes. So giving us some more selectivity and optimum recovery on the NDBA. So all this impurity which we quantified here has given us a recovery within 80 to 120%. On this slide, I'll just present on how the data on at a specification limit. The specification limit we kept here is a 0.03 ppm. That's with an API concentration of 20 mg per ml, giving you actual turnouts to be a 0.6 nanogram per ml. So if you can see for all these impurities where we kept a specification limit of at 0.6 nanogram per ml, nothing but a 0.03 ppm, we have seen you can see the precision was well below 10% for the replica of 6 injections, whereas the accuracy lies between plus minus 11%. Only for NMPA, it has given 89.24%, which was lower than that. Else for most of all other impurities, it was pretty well within the plus minus 5%. This slide briefs the similar data on accuracy and precision, but at the LOQ levels. If you look at the LOQ levels, we have kept our limits very close to 15% or very close to plus minus 20% for the repeatability as well as the precisions. So as per the standard, you can see that the precision values observed for all these impurity for the 6 replica were very close to plus minus 15% or lower than that, except for an NDBA where it was 16.04. When we did study around it, we observed that there was one outlier that was leads to the higher precision. For if we just remove it, most of this impurity lies within plus minus 12%, and the accuracy efficiency which lies within plus minus 15%. So both from the accuracy as well as the precision perspective, this methodology gives a better stance even at a very low LOQ, that is 0.001 ppm. This slide just briefs and summarize what the LOD and LOQ we achieved on a 5500 system. So for NDMA, we can able to reach to a LOD of 0.1, whereas for LOQ it was 0.25. For all other impurities, we can easily go to the 50 picogram per ml as an LOD, and we can definitely achieve 100 picogram per ml as in absolute terms as LOQ. If you look at the linearity range, it was a significantly wide and good linearity range that in multiplex we can achieve with the correlation standing or observing between 0.99. Mostly we keep a target, or we think to keep our control that on the correlation should be more than 0.98 based on our internal assessments. But for all this impurity, we have seen the correlation way above 0.99. Moving on to that, after like discussing around the 45 as well as the 5500, I would like to touch base on our another application which we carried out on the nitrosamine quantification on the 6500 instruments. This typically work we carried out based on a couple of requests from the customers as well as our internal, wherein we have been asked that how low we can go on a 6500 in order to quantify this impurity, assuming that there is a requirement to see the presence of this impurity in your pharmaceutical solvents or the residual solvents like water. Then there is the use of some other things like dimethylformamides or triethylamine or isopropanol. These are the dilutes, like presence of nitrosamine impurity in those solvents. So we come up with a methodology. This work was carried out in our global lab. So you can see here, like most of this impurity, there are a few more impurities, NDMA, NMORPH, NMEA, and beryl, and all these impurity we can see we are all resolved, and this chromatogram give you a representation of 0.5 nanogram per ml. So if I can see for all this impurity, the calibration curve for both quantifier as well as the qualifier gives you R value more than 0.99, whereas the calibration curve range lies between 10 to 500 picogram for most of the impurities except NMEA as well as N-pyrrolidone, where it lies between 50 to 5000 picograms. So similarly, because of the challenges to reach even more sensitivity or specificity for both this impurity, NMEA and N-pyrrolidone. If I see the data on accuracy as well as the repeatability, the most of the accuracy lies for the calibration standards, which we get 8 or 9, we lies between 70 to 130%. Here, this slide, you can see the representation from the LOD and LOQ that we achieved. So if we look at the LOQ for most of the impurities, we can easily achieve all LOQ of 10 picogram in absolute term, where diluent used was water. Whereas for the other impurities like NMP and N-pyrrolidone, we can easily achieve a limit of 50 picogram per ml. Whereas for the LOD, you can go as low as 2.5 picogram per ml, except for the two impurities, as I stated earlier, where we can go to 10 picogram per ml. But on the repeatability data, you can see there is a pretty good percent CV or the repeatability for the 6 injections observed, which was very less than 6% is observed over here. Even if at a 10x of the LOQ samples, if we are injected for the 6, we have seen early repeatability data, that is percentage CV was well below 5%. So just on the entire conclusion on the sartan works, which we carried out, as well as the work on the water analysis, which we performed in the lab. So the regulatory limits of 0.03 microgram per ml for all sartan are easily achievable on all the platforms of 45, 55, as well as the 65 systems. All these 3 instruments can easily give us the repeatability data as well as the precision accuracy well within the acceptable limits. Even the recovery, when we gone ahead and carried out the work for the drug substance as well as the drug product of all sartans or telmisartan including, we have seen the recovery always lies between 80 to 120%, as we given equal importance to minimize the matrix effect or the effect of the residual solvent that are present in the in the finished product as well as in the API to not impact or not interfere with the quantification of the nitrosamines. So both the QTRA 55 as well as the 65 system can provide us more usability and improvement in the method due to the additional sensitivity that the instruments carries, as well as the increase the sample dilutions to reduce the overall load onto the system and minimizing the system maintenance as well as the cleaning. So that's all on our first couple of applications. I'll just try to move to the more challenging work, which we think from the analytical perspective as well as the, like I can say, the research fraternity facing at this moment on the quantification of nitrosamines in the metformin API. So there are two platforms which I would like to discuss over here is both nominal as well as the accurate mass platform. On an accurate mass platform, I'll discuss on the work which we carried out on X500B QTOF. Whereas on the nominal platform, again, I'll touch base on the work which we did on the 5500 QTRAP systems and what limits we can easily achieve as per the recommendations. I'll talk briefly on the NDMA. So if you can think about the NDMA has, as I said earlier, also NDMA has been classified as a group 2 compounds, thereby defining it as a probable carcinogen by both WHO as well as the International Cancer Institutes. And on terms of the metformin, so metformin is the mostly prescribed drug to the patients who are suffering from the type 2 diabetes. So the FDA has set the intake limit for NDMA at present into this formulation as a 96 nanogram daily because of the immediate release. IR has a limit of 0.038 ppm, whereas for the extended release formulation where the maximum daily dose was either 255 mg or more than 2500 mg, where it has kept the limit for NDMA to be around 0.048 ppm. So so the various platforms which we have, which can be used towards the quantification of nitrosamine or NDMA in metformin would be all our platforms. So like starting from 4500 till 7500, we can use and you can easily reach to the limits which are desired by FDA in a metformin formulation. Whereas on accurate mass platform, again on both X500, 56 and 6600, we can see X500B we have presenting over here as a tabletop instruments and gives us enough sensitivity to reach to the limits that is 0.03 or 0.01 to be required as per the FDA recent publications on a metformin. How the sample preparation involved over here. Metformin has a typical characteristic like it comes into both immediate release as well as an extended release formulation. So when it comes to the extended release formulation, it has presented the major challenges towards its sample preparation because of the excipients which are used in order to give the extended release form to the metformin. So the extended release layer like gives, if you try to use water as a diluent, it is forming some kind of a resinous mixture and creating a difficulty to inject onto the LCMSMS systems. The secondly, on the solubility of metformin, though metformin is very good soluble in water, but because of an obvious challenge comes from the extended release components as they are getting more viscous, more resinous mixture, we are not able to use water as a diluent. However, with API, if somebody wants to move on and quantify only the API, water is an absolute choice of diluent to be used for quantification of this nitrosamine in metformin API. Whereas in the drug substance, when you go with the drug substance, it is ideally one should stick to the methanol as a diluent at this moment because it is not leads to the formation of any kind of a resinous or a jelly structures with methanol. The another challenge that we see in case of a metformin is the recovery. Set typically on the recovery when we say how the recovery was impacted, mostly because of that polar excipients which are eluting very in the early stage along with an API. So that is giving some kind of a difficulty in order to quantify NDMA to a limit of nearly 80 to 100%, 120% of a recovery. Similarly, at the latter stage, we are also face some difficulties to quantify NDBA because of the co-eluting matrix interferences or because of some gradient elution pattern that we have observed at that RT, and there was some blank interference observed in NDBA. To turn out that we have made some modification into the chromatography as well as the gradient stage, saying that the entire change in the gradient and the modification of the protocol supported us not only quantify this nitrosamine in the standalone formulation of a metformin, but also the fixed dose combination of metformins that comes in combination is saxagliptin, dapagliflozin, canagliflozin, or linagliptin can easily be same gradient on same methodology with a slight modification in a chromatographic setup can support to quantify all 8 impurities in a single run. So I'll take you onto the chromatography and the work that we carried out. So the liquid chromatography setup, we did something like we have chosen the column, which was Phenomenex biphenyl column, but we modified the internal diameter. We changed the column of a different ID, which is a 4.6 mm. The overall objective is to bring more specificity and selectivity to NDMA impurity from the co-eluting residual solvents or excipients that are coming from the formulations. The particle size, this remains same, that is a 2.6 micron fused core particles. The mobile phase was the conventional, which we are using and applying to most of our applications, which is a pump A, that's a 0.1% formic acid in water as well as the acidified methanol. The flow gradient you can see tabulated over here, which is nothing but we had, being the conventional C18 columns will not take up a load of 100% water, whereas this stationary phase, which is coming from the Phenomenex biphenyl column, this easily take a load up to direct and like can easily tolerate a load of 100% aqueous to the 100% organic. So saying that for the first 3 minutes, we are going at it 100% aqueous and gradually increasing to the 6 minutes to the 10% and thereby eluting NDMA very close to 6.5 to 7 minutes. Post 7 minutes, we have gradually and suddenly increases the gradient programs in order to elute the slightly non-polar nitrosamine impurity in such a way that they should not overlap with each other. Specifically, the impurities like NDPA and NDIPA, which are nothing but a positional isomers and needs to be chromatographic results because they share the similar Q1 as well as the MSMS fragmentation pattern. I'll just present the data that we have done on nitrosamine quantification in metformin on 5500 Q-TRAP system first. So you can see how, as I said, that till initial, you can see the chromatogram I have zoomed from 6 minutes to the 80 minutes, saying that at 6.8 minutes, the NDMA is eluting, followed by B is NMO, and then there is a NMBA eluting at around 10.2 minutes. Subsequent to that, there is a NDA that elutes at around 11.6 minutes, and all the slightly comparatively non-polar impurity, the most non-polar impurities out here is the NDBA, which is eluting somewhere around 10.5 minutes. So we ensure that there is the blank interference, which is coming because of the solvents, was ruled out by pushing the NDBA to 17.5 minutes instead of eluting it into 80% of the organic or 100% of the organic. We slowed down the gradient in such a way that there is no interference coming at NDBA also from these diluents. NMPA elutes are post NDIPA as well as the NDPA, and these two you can see, as I said, both NDPA and NDIPA very, very well chromatographically resolved. Just present here what the limits we have achieved. So we can see that as per the FDA for NDMA, we are easily able to achieve the limit of 0.01 ppm with respect to 100 mg of API, that is 1 nanogram per ml in a absolute dilution, as well as with the API and the LOD we can achieve at a 0.5 nanogram per ml, whereas for all other impurities we are very close to either 100 picogram or 200 picogram for the impurity in terms of an LOD, and for the LOQ we can commonly achieve a 0.5 nanogram or 500 picogram as a limit of quantifications. The limit of quantification, the repeatability that we observed out here are presented in the subsequent slides. But like that, our previous work on the sartans here also, you can see that the correlation was way above 0.99, so which is well acceptable in the limit. However, here we can even extended our linearity to now 200 nanogram per ml, that is nothing but a 2 ppm with respect to 100 mg of API. The standard dilution we kept at the 3 nanogram per ml, which is as per the standard FDA publications, which comes on metformin, which they have recently published. So you can see the precision for this standard dilutions, which is well within 10%. FDA also asked for this within less than 10%, and we can see here the precision for all this impurity lies very close to 8% or lower than that. The accuracy was well within plus minus 15% for the standard dilution, which is also meeting the standard regulatory requirement as well as the criteria that we have set during our method optimization as well as the qualifications. On this slides, we just summarize the LOQ, what kind of a data and how the data looks like when it comes to the repeatability as well as the precision accuracy. You can see that the accuracy was well within plus minus 20%, except on NDBA where it goes to very close to 83%, whereas the precision was well within plus minus 15% of for the 6 replicates of the injections. As I said, for all other impurities, we can go as low as 0.5 nanogram per ml using the SAGS triple quad instruments. Now I'll just turn out the work on the HRMS platforms where we have used the X500B QTOF instruments that's used towards the quantification of all these impurities, which I have just stated above here to showcase that how they can be used, what limits we can achieve on the HRMS platform. So these slides just represent the chromatogram, which was there. Here is absolutely different columns, chromatograph column, stationary phase we have used. So you can see that the repeatability data or batch to batch variation between the columns is also within plus minus 4% of the retention time. So there we have observed the retention time of NDMA somewhere around 6.7 minutes. Here we are observing it somewhere around 6.4 minutes. Whereas for NDBA, there it was 17.5 minutes. Here it is 17.2 minutes. So the robustness of the column stationary phase and the batch to batch or column to column variability is also quite seen out here. All these impurities are very well resolved. Here, what we did, we extracted with a very, very tight extraction window, that is 0.002, making the mass error to is less than 15 ppm. What kind of a linearity and what kind of a data we have observed over here, similar to that what we have observed in a triple quad 5500, we can easily reach to the limit, and that linearity range, instead of a 200, we can go up to 1:100 ppm, and has a correlation of again more than 0.99 for all these impurities. For most of the impurities there, you can easily achieve a LOQ of 0.5 nanogram, where being this is an HRMS systems and having that window, we can here reach to a limit of 1 nanogram or 0.5 nanogram to some impurities on a LOQ parts. These slides just bring again the overview of how the precision and accuracy data looks between the nominal as well as the accurate mass platform. Here on accurate mass platform, we can see the precision is getting much more better. Only for NDBA it was going to 11.44, but whereas for all other impurities it is less than 7%. Even the accuracy was well within plus minus 7% for all these impurities, and giving you a confidence that is precision and accuracy on the HRMS platform is also getting easily replicated with the similar chromatographic setup that we did on a triple quad instruments. The most topic of discussions that comes into the limelight was how this NDMA selectivity in presence of a DMF. So there is a publications come from the FDA on the quantity of LC-HRMS analytical procedures for the analysis of NDMA in presence of metformin, in presence of those residual solvents and excipients. So typically, if we talk and discuss more on the DMF part at this moment, so DMF is nothing but it's a class 2 solvents, which is categorized by as per the EMA, it's a class 2 solvents and has allowed a very high limit of 880 microgram per gram in a ppm terms. So the percentage of DMF might vary, but our observation is that if DMF is there in the formulation or if there in the drug substance or drug product, it will certainly co-elute along with NDMA, or it will give you a challenge. Or if it co-elutes along with the NDMA, it may give you some percentage of a matrix effect and matrix separations, thereby impacting the recovery, which is also a requirement for the analytical chemist to fulfill with respect to the regulatory guidelines. So if DMF is co-eluting, you will see a difficulty or charge competition for NDMA into the ion source and leading towards impacting the overall recovery of NDMA from the drug substance as well as drug products. So FDA has also called upon it and given publications in July 2020, wherein they say that there is either an elevated level of NDMA observed if the DMA is co-eluting. So similar to that, we try to get this done into our work thoroughly so that we are bringing more specificity to our method. So from the day one, as I said, that we modified our gradient in such a way that there is more specificity allowed and provided to the NDMA quantification instead of an more selectivity given towards it. So the initial gradient, which we have started with 100% water, supported us towards the bringing resolution between NDMF and DMF. So in the next slide, I'll just show you how this is on X500R, which is our HRM X500B, which was our platform that we have done on a HRMS, that's an accurate mass platform, you can see the NDMA was eluting somewhere around 6.7 minutes, whereas the DMF starts to elute post 7 minutes. So thereby there is no charge computation happening on NDMA, giving us a more specificity as well as selectivity on NDMA, and the recovery from the drug substance and drug products go well above 180%. That is, the recovery comes somewhere around 85 to 150% in most of the work that we carried out on the metformin. So not only the standalone metformin, even it's a fixed dose combination of a metformin, we got this resolution between these two very closely eluting substances from the samples. On the right hand side, you can see the spectra from the nominal mass within the QTRA 5500 systems. You can see that the DMF, so the isotopic ion of a DMF gives you the fragmentation, which is very much close to the 58, and you can see the spectra out here like NDMA and DMF, but still they are very well chromatographic resolved from base to base, so there is no interference coming from the DMF at the retention time of in the or into the quantification of an NDMA. So on this part, I'll just would like to conclude the overall work that we carried out on the metformin. So this methodology for the quantification of 9-nitrosamine, we can use the similar chromatographic setups to quantify all these 9-nitrosamine impurities from both metformin formulations, API, as well as the tablets. I'll again reiterate, for API, it would be water would be ideal choice because metformin would be get easily solubilized in water, and most of the API, that's 100% of the API gets solubilized into it. Whereas for other like extended formulations, one can go ahead and select methanol as a diluent, thereby minimizing the possibility of formation of a gellus or resinous or a thick viscous sample at the end of the preparations. So that is on the API and the diluent that for the metformin, whereas the NDMA, this can easily we can easily work around the chromatography and bring the resolution between both NDMA and DMF, thereby giving more stability and specificity to the NDMA quantifications. So all criteria which are required for the analytical chemist to meet, like accuracy, precision, as well as recovery, can easily be get achieved on both nominal as well as accurate mass platform. So in addition to the quantification of X500, also be used for the new drugs like the X500B can supports towards to quantify these limits from the batch to batch and to avoid and minimize the batch to batch variations. So then lastly, both these instruments, the QTRA 5500 as well as the X500B systems, can comfortably hit the required regulated limits of 0.03 or 0.01 when the MDD, maximum daily dose, past 880 mg per day. So both these instruments can easily reach to the limits and minimize and gives you a more accurate and the precise data from the batch to batch analysis. You can just, this slide just gives you overall summaries on the various application tech notes that recently we have come up with. So you can refer this one on the genotoxic nitrosamine in losartan as well as in the ranitidine, whereas similarly we have another tech notes on the rapid method for the quantification nitrosamine on 6500, for which I have briefed or discussed around it. There are other works which are carried out on a 5500 QTRAP which are also published, wherein it's mostly on the valsartan drug substances. Whereas the next generation that I talked about, the X500 QTOFs and their use into the nitrosamine and the quantifications, can be referred to.